Welcome to How to Tell Someone. I'm your host, Tanya Pesky. Before we get started, I encourage you to check the episode description. That's where you'll find content warnings. Guests on How to Tell Someone are telling vulnerable, personal stories that sometimes contain themes that may be difficult for some listeners, so please take care while listening. This story comes from Lily.
I had my son when I was 17. And I had been raised by super strident, very religious parents. My dad really had all of the power in our house, and he was probably undiagnosed autistic, but his special interest was biblical literalism. So all of the rules in my house were centered around that. So when people say oh, I was raised in a really religious household, I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music. There were big fights about whether we should be allowed to braid our hair. We went to church 4 times a week. One of those nights was door knocking. I wasn't supposed to wear pants. I mean, it was very extreme, very strident. And on Tuesday nights, my family would go to the church after school, and we would eat dinner at the church, and then we would get paired. The teenagers would get paired with an adult, and adults would get paired with each other to go on visitation. The woman who ran the welcome wagon for people who had just moved into the town that my church was in went to our church. And so she would get a list of addresses, and we would go out and knock on doors and have to minister to the people of the town and tell them about Jesus. It was really grim. It was not... It was very anti-fun. My dad was a very serious, rulesy person, and he was super oppressive on our family. And I always felt if my mom could have afforded to leave him, that all of us would have been better off. When I was 14, I really was okay, I'm going to be the most. I'm going to read my Bible every day. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. I'm going to see if there's any benefit to following all of the rules. And I was really methodical about it. And my mom hated it because for her, it was kind of a competition. And my dad was really obsessed with biblical perfection. And I was the loudest thing in the house. So when I was really became targeted on meeting his standards, meeting him where he was at, my mom was she couldn't compete because she had a full-time job. I was joining the choir, I was volunteering, I was making it so that we had to go to church more often and just looking her in the eye and being I don't know. I turned obedience into an act of rebellion. I made it worse. And she hated it. And then, and then that snapped. When I was 15, I got a tattoo and I got kicked out of my house. And I went to live with my grandparents for a year. And my grandparents were great. They were, long-term married, got along. My grandma baked cookies. My grandpa was blue collar, cowboy boots, always working in the garage. And I think it was really positive to get to spend time there. But that relationship, it's the grandparent relationship. It really taxed my relationship with them to have to live with them when I was sort of in the middle of teenage rebellion. So after a year, I moved back in with my parents, and I did not get along with them. My father wouldn't speak to me, even though we were living in the same house. And my mother just was like, that's not true, that's not happening, which really mirrored, like when I was little, my dad was like, I guess my dad was like physically abusive, but I don't really care about that. I frequently would like get hit in the face and get bloody noses, like often, like, I don't know, like at least a few times a month, probably that would happen. But as a kid, I was like, okay, you get mad and you hit somebody. Like that made perfect sense to me. It was not like confusing that a person would get mad and hit somebody, but it was really infuriating that my mom would then say, like, that didn't happen. Like, to me, with tissues up my nose, she would be like, oh, you have a sensitive nose. And I'm like, you're just a liar. Like, you're just a liar. I felt from a super young age that I had to be very attentive to the world around me and to the grown-ups around me. And I felt like I had a very deep interest in exposing people's hypocrisies or their double selves or their secrets. Once when I was 11, I confronted my mom because I noticed that she was pregnant, because I noticed the absence of menstrual products in the bathroom for a month. And if my 10 or 11-year-old kid did that to me, I would be like, mind your own business. At the time, I felt like Harry the Spy or something. Like I was just the most perceptive person. But I had like caught my Mr. Perfect father in an act of hypocrisy when I was like really young. And it was a minor act, but he had left a towel on the floor and then yelled at me about it. And when he yelled at me about it, I was like, it's your towel. You left it on the floor. And he hit me about it. And I even as a kid, even now, I'm like, okay, you shouldn't hit a kid. I was not a hit your kids person as a mom. But as a kid, you yourself as a kid get mad and you hit people. I think it's easier for a kid to process that somebody might get so angry they hit than it is to be like, why are you systematically like telling me that my observations are not true? Like, just like sort of like eroding your ability to trust the people in your lives and creating this need to like maintain a separate reality for yourself that's like private and isolated. That to me was like where the damage was done. Like, okay, yes, you hit me. Like I, when I'm 30, I'm not going to still, have a nosebleed, but I am still going to like remember all of those lessons from early childhood that the people around me will lie to me and, for their own comfort. I got pregnant at 17, and my dad was already not speaking to me when I came home pregnant. So he signed for me to get married. And then when I got divorced, he took my husband out to dinner and said, I signed her over to you. Why are you letting her divorce you? So, like, for him, it was very much like a biblically literal, like, he transferred property to my husband at that age. And he was, like, relieved to do it because he wasn't able to control me himself. So he was pleased to have like another man to transfer that responsibility to. And my mom, her first words were that she was glad that I wasn't considering abortion. Before I got pregnant, I had been staying with a friend of mine. I was 16 and I had spent the entire summer staying with a friend of mine who was 21, and I would call my mom every day when I knew that she wouldn't be home and leave a message on my home answering machine saying that I was going to spend the night at my friend's house so that she couldn't file me as a runaway. So when I got pregnant, it really was about sort of like understanding that I was going to be running into consequences pretty soon from trying to live as an independent adult and I wanted to get pregnant. I wanted to get married. It's the Howard Hughes strategy. Howard Hughes got married so that his board of directors couldn't have him institutionalized. I had been threatened with being institutionalized my whole life. My parents were like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy." That was another thing. And my mom, when I was going through my getting a tattoo and everything, my mom took me to a psychiatrist, and she said, either she's leaving with meds or I am. And she got me diagnosed as bipolar and had me put on 2,100 milligrams of lithium a day. 2,100 milligrams of lithium a day for bipolar disorder, which I do not have. I just was not comfortable with the artificial reality that everyone was really committed to living in, and I kept trying to poke holes in it every chance I got. When I had my son, I was very determined to do things differently. I raised him totally atheistically, obviously no church. I was very skeptical of community because of the ways that community had been sort of used to create this, I went to tent revivals in the summertime where people brought their guns and there was loud guest preachers on megaphones until 10 o'clock when the noise ordinance kicked in. The idea of a community of people was terrible to me. And the idea of him having a father was terrible to me. Why would I leave a man in your life? You're just a kid. You don't deserve that. That was just what I thought of men. When I had my own kid, I parented like a teenager might parent. I was he is not going to be required to conform. His experience is going to be honored. He is going to be an active participant in his own reality. He's not going to be shoved into a really tight sort of mold where he's expected to behave in these ways and expected to adhere to a set of impossible ideals that are constantly getting tighter. And because I was 17, I was, in my own way, very strident. We were vegetarian or vegan, and we didn't shop at big box stores, and oh gosh, I don't even know. He was homeschooled for about a year and a half because of issues that I had with his teacher. I was very distrustful of authority, and I really sort of encouraged him to be his own self, his own thinker, his own person, as much as possible. I had a second child when he was almost 5, and he describes that now as like the worst turning point in his life. He's like, I had an idyllic childhood until I was 5, and then I had a little brother, and then my life went absolutely straight to hell. Like, and he's not exactly wrong, is the thing. Like, when he confronted me about it, like, I did not have the resources to take care of a second child. I was in a bad relationship with the person that I had the second child with, and although I was not necessarily the antagonist in that story or like the bad guy in that story, I was the person who was responsible for making sure that it remained a good story, and it didn't for him. I had a second child when I was already struggling a lot to take care of my first child, and I had the second child into a toxic relationship that destabilized me terribly. And when my son was 7, he was having behavioral issues. He was picking on his brother, who was 2. He was just kind of being a problem in a number of ways. And he was in therapy, and he would say things like, I'm going to get my therapist to tell you that I don't have to clean my room anymore. And I was like, good luck with that. And then he would go to therapy, and he would get out of therapy, and the therapist would say, you know, I think he finds it stressful to have to clean his room. I think... So he was like 6.5, manipulating his therapist into... Like, he just immediately understood how to kind of get his way with adults, because he had always been talked to like an adult. He just really understood how to manipulate adults. So I, as a person who was like, I'm going to give my kid his own experience, I'm going to give him freedom, I'm going to give him room, he's going like, I'm going to use that room to like manipulate people around me, or to like secure a more comfortable existence for myself against my own best interests. So to me, it felt like I'm being gaslit by my mother. I'm being gaslit by my son. Like, why is this happening to me? You know, and time and experience has given me a lot more insight into like how I'm ensuring the repetition of that pattern, exactly like you said. Like, I'm skeptical of authority, and as a result, he is skeptical of authority. And so when he is skeptical of my authority, I have no help from anyone, anywhere, who can assist me in giving him structure, accountability, anything. By 5th grade, he was not doing his homework and not turning anything in. I really advocated to get him into this gifted school where he could meet other kids who were like him, very clever, very brilliant, kids who were more on his level, because he was really becoming, I don't know, one of those kids who had like henchmen almost. Because he was so, like, if you're 10 and you've been comfortably manipulating adults with degrees in psychology since you were 6, like, what hope does a normal fellow 5th grader have towards being a peer, you know, like... So he was not building meaningful relationships with people, and for that reason, I moved him to a gifted school, and it required like testing out of pocket, and like it was a whole thing, but I thought it was important, so he did it. Immediately after getting into the gifted school, which he wanted to do, he started lying to his teachers and telling them that I had him doing most of the housework, and that he really didn't have time to do homework and stuff because he had a single mom who worked a lot and he had to take care of his brother most nights. He was like 11. His brother was 6. I was mortified. Like, I'm a teen mom. I already look, I'm showing up at parent teacher night and he's 11 and I'm 28, and oh my God, I just think about like the feeling of walking into those spaces and having everyone sort of look at me and then having his narrative so closely align with their prejudices made it, oh my God, it's just like blisteringly uncomfortable for me to seek any kind of support in helping him, turn in his homework, pass a class, complete a project. Like, he just was not developing the kinds of skills that you have to develop in junior high in order to succeed in high school, in order to succeed in college. And he would constantly lie or mislead or tell his teachers things so that they wouldn't tell me the whole truth, or like, there were so many times that I couldn't count on him to be real with me about whether he had homework, how far he was behind, and I felt very approachable about those things, very strategic about those things. But at the same time, I now had a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, as my younger son was getting older, who had also been raised by a mother who didn't believe in authority, and he was not succeeding in school. And I was trying to work with his teachers, and I was going in all the time. I was participating in the education plan. I was taking him to therapy. He was on meds for ADHD, even though it was difficult for me as a parent who had like been on medication myself. It was difficult to make that choice for him. But I still felt like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm working with the school, and he still needs to be sent home, 2 or 3 days a week. My younger son was being sent home early from school. So my older son, who was in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, he's becoming a teenager, and he doesn't want to do his homework, and he's lying to his teachers, and I'm not able to get my youngest son to go to school, and I'm like I couldn't see my own patterns in this. I was not going to see my own way out of this. So one morning, me and my 2 sons had spent the entire weekend watching Star Trek in bed. We were watching Star Trek in bed because I had broken my toe tripping over video game cords doing laundry in the basement. And I was like, okay, we're going to get Chinese food delivered. And we're just going to watch TV. I'm just going to keep my foot elevated, and we're going to have a Star Trek nerdy weekend. So we hung out, watching Star Trek, had a perfectly lovely weekend. And on Sunday night, my son said, hey, can I play video games with my dad? His job was to do the dishes. And I said, literally every single takeout container is still out from 2 days in the kitchen. Throw away all of the takeout containers, and you can play video games with your dad. He didn't want to hear that. It took him 2 hours. Something, I don't know, just too long. He couldn't play video games with his dad. He went to bed. Fine. You have a teenager, whatever. The next morning, I went to take my youngest son to school, and I went downstairs, and I saw that my oldest son had not gone to school that day. He had skipped school to sleep in, and he had texted his friend, can you tell the office I'm not going to come in today? My mom hasn't done laundry all weekend, and I don't have any clean clothes. I sent him to live with his dad. After that, I sent him to live with his dad. He was already not doing his homework. He was already so invested in telling the exact kinds of things to his teachers that were undermining my ability to parent him or hold him accountable, that I felt that I just could not effectively parent him at all. I was like, if you're going to try and get back at me for not letting you play video games, by now you're skipping school, like, I can't keep up with this. It's just me. I already have a kid who's not going to school. I don't know what to do about him. Yeah, so I sent him to live with his dad. I think I just expected that because I knew what was wrong with my childhood, that I would be able to solve what was wrong with their childhoods. But I couldn't. The whole time I was still trying to solve what was wrong with my childhood. And they didn't have structure, they didn't have authority, they didn't have the most important thing that a parent can give you, which is, this is how I'm living my life. This is what's working for me. I have built some stability. I have some options. You can follow in my footsteps, or you can reject that. But everything I was trying to give my kids was aspirational. It wasn't how I was living. It was like how I thought they could live. Bullshit. Just pure bullshit. Like, I didn't understand it because I was like, this would have worked for me. Why isn't it working for you? And it's like, because you don't have my dad breathing down your neck every 5 seconds, giving you like all of this horrible like structure to like rail against or like feel your own rhythms against. I'm not giving you a sense of safety around saying like, there are adults in the world that you can trust. I'm telling you like, you're alone. You can't trust anybody. Like, I just didn't understand at all what I and my inability to sort of like trust other people or trust institutions or trust community meant that they never saw anyone appreciate me, so they didn't appreciate me. They never saw anyone set a boundary with me, so they didn't know how to set boundaries with me. They didn't see me getting up and going to work every day and following a morning routine because I was like, oh, I have to prioritize you, so I have to help you figure out your thing. And it's like, no, I needed to figure out a life that worked for me and then sort of onboard them to that. But I didn't see that at the time. I was just like, I don't have the resources to deal with 2 kids who are each uniquely not thriving. I felt like if the teacher is being toxic, it's protecting my kids to remove them from that environment rather than demonstrating what reconciliation could look like or self-advocacy. But I didn't even see that. Like I couldn't even. Oh, I didn't mention this earlier, and it's like maybe important. When he was 7, my son was having trouble, was having behavioral problems, and I was a strident pain in the ass. Like, I didn't do myself any favors socially, and I was recently out of an abusive relationship with the father of my second son. And my oldest son went to live with his father when he was 7 for 2 years as I was leaving town to leave the abusive relationship that I was in with my younger son's father. because of the way that it happened, my older son was left with the impression that the largest factor in that decision was his behavioral problems at the time. But that was not true. So when we talked about this stuff, he didn't realize how urgently I needed to get out of town in order to get out of that relationship. Probably he would have gone to stay with his dad for a while anyway, because his dad had like a stay-at-home wife and was living with his parents, and there was just a lot of support. That was a difficult time for him, like feeling suddenly like his whole life had changed and I wasn't around. He moved back in when he was 10, and he expected things to be much more like before he had a brother, but his younger brother was a huge pain by that point. So it was just a lot for him to have to go through as a person, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter that I was very understandably fleeing an abusive relationship. It matters that I hadn't managed my affairs well enough to buffer him from the consequences of my romantic entanglements. So he went to live with his dad when he was 14, just like I went to live with my grandparents when I was 15. And he continued to have problems with his dad. And he continued to have problems with me, and he continued to have problems in school. Have you ever seen the movie Rushmore? He was a Max Fisher type. He was always impeccably dressed. He always was having long philosophical discussions with teachers. He was always like doing Knowledge Bowl or doing these extracurriculars, and then getting like when he went into his senior year, I asked him about his college plans, and he said that he wasn't going to consider PSU after all because he didn't meet the GPA requirements. And I was like, what could they possibly be? And he was like, oh, they're 2.3. I was like, what is your GPA? He said he had a 1.9. This is a kid who's tested into the top 0.1%, like, of students just a few years ago. And he just did not have any of the organizational stuff. He didn't have any of the respect for the process. He couldn't follow the instructions and feel good about it. And it was really biting him in the ass. He wound up living with his grandparents, again, moving out of his dad's house and living with his grandparents for his senior year of high school. He still lives there, incidentally. They are really lovely for him. It's been a really great place for him. One of the main drawbacks of his grandparents and of him living with his grandparents is that they are not accountability people. Like, that side of his family is very, let everybody do what they want to do, even if it's really bad for them. When he was failing out of high school, his grandparents really did not even attempt to do anything to keep him motivated or to keep him turning in his homework or anything like that. They just, do you need a ride to school? Do you need a ride home from school? Did you put the food that you want on the shopping list? Like, it was not parenting the way that he needed parenting at that age. But it was like a soft spot with not a lot of conflict, which is another thing that he needed at that age. After high school, he did not have the options that he thought that he was going to have. and he didn't have a foil anymore. He didn't have, neither parent was breathing down his neck. No teachers were asking him where his homework was. There was no sense of motility in his life. He wasn't moving forward in any way because he didn't have anything to buck up against. So just like, if you can imagine Max Fisher, like after high school, there's no audience for your resistance and for your, he always had a reason for his special circumstance and why he needed a doctor's note out of PE or a little extra time on the test or a few extra days on the essay or, whatever it was. He always had a special circumstance, but he had sort of run out of opportunities for himself. And I really felt like he needed someone to light a fire under his butt. And I kept calling him and trying to schedule meetings with him to fill out a FAFSA for school. And he kept blowing me off. And knowing how he is about things and knowing his pattern at the time, I was seeing him repeat this pattern of going, oh, I made an appointment for my mom to help me get my FAFSA done. But I was in the shower when she called, and so I didn't get my FAFSA done this year. And so it's going to be another year, and I didn't want to take that on. I didn't want to be, oh, I made an appointment with this place, but I couldn't find the office, and then it was another year before I could do it. Like, that was very much his pattern. And so I called him out on it. I was like, it sucks a lot to watch somebody that you care about just refuse to do anything with their life. Like, I keep showing up for you, but you have got to show up for yourself. And I called him out on being manipulative about things and always having excuses that put the impetus on the other person. Oh, I had an appointment at the financial aid office, but I forgot that it was daylight savings. So I forgot to set my clocks back and I missed the appointment, and they never followed up to reschedule. Like, why would they? That kind of thing. Like, so I called him out on that, and he was just like, I'm tired of your impression of who I am. I don't like who you think I am. I'm tired of you putting this on to me. I'm tired of you pigeonholing me. And I didn't exactly know everything that fed into it, but that was the breaking point. Is I tried to make an appointment with him. It was my second or third time making an appointment with him to do his financial aid paperwork that he had blown off. And I was just like, you always do this. You always do this. He did not want to talk to me after that. That was in I think fall of 2019. So we went through all of 2020, through all of quarantine, not really talking to each other. But that's my perspective. That's what happened for me. That's not what happened for him. I wrote him a letter at one point. I wrote him a really long letter. I wrote it by hand. I apologized for everything that I could think of to apologize for. And I offered a list of 6 or 7 different ideas for how we could come back together and reconnect. I was like, oh, what if we did this, or what if we did that? I'm no good at helping you. Don't think that I care whether or not you're going to school. I didn't graduate high school. I'm not going to love you any less whether or not you go to school. I just want to see you making something of your life. I told him we could talk. I told him I could come and visit, or he could come and visit. I told him we could do online gaming together, even though I'm not really a gamer. And he showed the letter to my little sister, who is his best friend. They're 2 years apart in age. And she said that she wished that her parents would write her a letter like that. And he said that he couldn't believe that I was so insensitive and that I didn't understand him at all. So my sister has the same parents that I have, and she was like, this would be so meaningful to me to receive it. But for him, he was like, ugh, more mom, just like he was not, it didn't give him what he needed. He sat on it for like a year. So I reached out to him after it had been like a year. I really felt like one of the greatest pleasures of adulthood is the ability to cut off your parents and be like, I do not want to hear it from you. Like, that makes total sense to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you never get to set that kind of a boundary with yourself, with your parents as a child. You can never say, like, I've heard enough out of you. Go to your room. Like, you never get to do that. So I think it's like being the kind of person who can accept that boundary, but still be like, the door is completely open. I really love you. Like, respecting your kids' space while they figure out what they want to say to you, but still like making it super clear to them on a regular basis that like whatever they need, they're welcome to. Like, I didn't even know how to communicate that. I'm like, am I stepping all over you? Am I pressuring you into a reconciliation? So he was still in contact with members of my family that I was still in contact with. So we're like hearing things about each other, and just, he's still in contact with my younger son. He's still in contact with my sister that I talk to. Still in contact with my mom that I talk to. And so I just sort of like made it super, super known that I was very receptive to whatever he had to say to me whenever he was ready. Later, he said that from his perspective, he was deep in a mental health episode, and I was blaming him for his own depression. The thing that made him really want to reach out and talk to me is he had his like circle of internet friends and close connections that he had developed through high school. And many of those had fallen away since he stopped talking to me. And one of his remaining contacts cut off contact with him and was basically told him exactly the same thing that I had said to him. And that made him go like, okay, if I'm getting the same feedback from these two very different people, then there's like something to this. It's terrible to be in the throes of a mental health episode, but nobody can really get you out for you. You have to be willing to show up and do the work for yourself. I was really grateful that he'd had that experience and that it opened him up to try and talk to me again. I never expected to be right about him, ever. From like the time that he was born, I always expected him to be right about him. And it turned out that that was like its own super big problem, because he needed somebody to say like, here's an example of what you can be, and he can accept or reject that. And instead I was like, what are you? And he's like, what are my options? Everything, like how does somebody negotiate not getting what they want? Like seeing the way that your teacher handles it versus how a lady at church handles it versus how somebody at the supermarket handles it is really going to inform how many options you have to choose from when you decide how you want to respond to not getting what you want. And every time I met someone I disagreed with, I was like, well, they're toxic. So I was really robbing him of like a diversity of life by trying to enforce a homogenous bubble in exactly the way that my parents did at church. But like, I didn't even recognize that was happening. It was like, oh, I'm totally different from my parents, not realizing that like no religion can be its own religion if you're really strident about it. I think it's been important post-reconciliation for him to like see the ways that has softened. It gives him like a more developed sense of the ideals that he was raised with, because I'm still you know, my ideals are no less commie, pinko, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still, like, very extremely liberal in my politics, but, like, in the way that I practice my politics, I am a lot more about getting along with the people in my life rather than trying to enforce, like, oh, what do you mean you eat meat? Rude. You know, like, who cares? Who cares? Like, why am I doing that? So I think that, like, him being able to see that and not just having this example of a very strident young mother, you know, is helpful. He texted me. He said that he wanted to get together and talk it out. So we planned a trip. Normally, he would have stayed at the house with me, but for this trip, I got him a hotel room downtown so that he could have his own space. And I invited him to come with me while I was working on this big art project to build this huge set, and just talk to me. I tried to get him interested in maybe doing some activities while he was in town, but he didn't want to do any activities. He just wanted to spend 3 days kind of walking around, eating at restaurants, sitting there keeping me company while I worked on this art project, and just telling me every single thing that I had ever done wrong in his childhood. It didn't feel like a list or a litany. It just felt like we would be talking normally about anything. Talking about a coffee shop or being like, oh yeah, that gelato shop, that place is great. They have this good flavor. It's blah, 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 blah. And he would go, do you remember that time that we went to get ice cream and you did this? And I'd be like, no, tell me more about the time that we went to get ice cream and I did that. And it was like having a hidden camera in your house for like every time you ever said a swear. Like, it was like, oh my God. He remembered so many things that were like nothing to me. The stuff that I felt that I needed to apologize for barely showed up at all. Like, just did not register to him as a massive problem. There are things that will be a problem for him that I don't think he really touched on. Like, I really couldn't stand men because of how I was raised. But I was raising 2 boys. So your mother, for your entire childhood, is telling you that men are the worst. How safe does it feel to grow up? Like, that didn't even come up for him. But that's, like, for sure in there, and I know that. And I'm just, like, listening to all of this other stuff and being like, I'm not going to give you any more ideas, but, like, the things that he's calling me out on are things that I'm like, that's what bothered you? Like, there was a place that he liked to go to play D&D with his friends from school. And he also had like a Tuesday afternoon D&D club at school with several of the same friends. And if he hadn't done his homework, he wasn't allowed to go to the game store on Saturday. That was the rule. And he often wasn't allowed to go because he often hadn't done his homework. And at 22, that's what he was mad about. He was mad that he was grounded from the game store for not doing his homework. And I'm like, that's not what you should be mad about. Like, he was like, you still don't understand. He's like, you kept me from my friends. And I was like, I literally, like, I picked you up on Tuesday. What do you mean I kept you from your friends? Like, you couldn't go on Saturdays. I wouldn't give you a ride to and from the game store to go play with your friends if you had homework you still needed to do. Like, that's totally normal. But Like, it doesn't matter. He's mad at me because he didn't get everything that he needed as a kid. And he was remembering the times that he felt that the most deeply. But, like, just listening to that and not trying to be like, no, you should be mad that I didn't make room for your masculinity. That will probably show up eventually, and it has shown up in certain ways, but, like, I have to be there for the things that he's actually upset about, even if it doesn't feel like the right thing or whatever. If I'm not there to hear about this smaller stuff, then I'm not going to be there to help him navigate. If the bigger stuff shows up later, I won't be there to help. I think that having to go through parenting my younger son gave me additional context where I had the exact same problems and I could not parent my younger son as a teenager. My partner had to parent him through his teen years because I was like, what do you want from me? Like, just be grown up. Just be a grown up. Like, I was a grown up at your age. Like, what's going on? I had no idea how to give them what they needed. And like, I've told my older son, I'm like, hey, I wasn't parented as a teenager, so I didn't understand how to parent as a teenager, or how to parent you as a teenager. And he's like, yeah, no kidding, I wasn't parented as a teenager either. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, pay attention to what your friends with good parents are getting right now, or else you won't be prepared to give it to your teenager either. And to be able to tell him that now ahead of time so that he can, like, know that and be on the lookout for it and just acknowledge that I didn't give him what he needed at that age so that he can move on and be like, I didn't get what I needed. I need to pay attention to other people, instead of me being like, no, I did my best. And then, like, what does that even mean? My mom was really committed to this narrative of, like, her having done her best and her having, like, really given us everything that she had to give us. And I feel like that's a very common, like, mom narrative. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you did your best. If your kid didn't get everything that they needed, you have to still think about how to give that to them. And for my son, as an adult, I don't know, last year or something, he was telling me that he was sort of, didn't have a lot of friends out by where he lived, and he was hanging out a lot at his grandparents' house where they watch game show reruns that they've already seen before. And he was telling me that there was a game store that he was interested in going to, but that they had moved from near his house to across town. And I was like, okay, why don't you just drive across town? Like, what else are you doing? And he was like, oh, well, it's just like gas money. And so we calculated it out, and I was like, okay, so it's $10 in gas money to go to play D&D once a week or whatever. And he was like, yeah, it is. And I was like, I grounded you from doing that stuff when you were a kid, but you told me that it's part of your care and feeding. Like, you need to make room for this in your life because you can't withhold this from yourself. You already told me it's a really big deal to you. And it, like, empowered him to do it. And he was going for months, and now he's back in school and he's very preoccupied with all of that. But it felt really good to have an opportunity to give him that in a way that I didn't give him that when he was a kid. So even though it's just saying, like, oh, you should really go to D&D now that you're a grown man, it was still a really meaningful moment for him to be like, oh, okay, she's, like, seeing that this is important to me. I didn't expect to still need to parent him as much, but it has really changed the way that I think about parenting him, to realize, like, you didn't get everything that you needed when you were a kid. You want to hold me accountable for that in certain ways, and I'm going to show up and be accountable for it, and I'm going to try and help you give yourself the rest of those things any chance I have to do that. I realized that it wasn't natural for my son to want to spend years not talking to me. That's not normal. I considered it normal because I don't want to talk to my mom because she is so the person that raised me, and I didn't enjoy being raised. The big problem with my mom is that I got kicked out of my house when I was 15. And my mom was very much like, I don't see why you can't just make it work. Like, why are you so difficult? And then when I was 30 and had made my peace with the fact that my mom was trying to save my immortal soul, even though I disagreed with her, it made a certain kind of weird sense. When I was 30, my mom divorced my dad and was like, I've been thinking of leaving him the whole time. I always thought the church was bullshit. Your dad never made any money until after you got kicked out of the house. I was the breadwinner. I could have left him at any time and I didn't. Every single thing that my dad did to me when I was the loudest, sort of least biblical thing in the house, he started to do to my mom when she was the least biblical thing in the house. And when it happened to me, I was bad and I deserved it and I should be more like her. And when it happened to her, can you believe that anyone would treat me this way? And she just became this operatic victim in a way that she never gave me space to be, and would say things like, can you believe that he did this and this and this to me? And I would say, yeah, that sounds like 6th grade to me. Can you imagine an adult woman allowing that to happen to her daughter? Her new self was not very compatible with the person who witnessed her, sort of empowering him to make all of the rules. Like, this guy made no money, was obsessed with biblical literalism, did not help around the house, I was 11 years old and mowing our yard, even though I was allergic to grass because he didn't want to. Like, why did she stay with this person? Why was that, why did I have to have the childhood that I had? It just seemed like she wanted male approval more than anything. And I still don't really trust my mom to be sensible around male approval. I've just come to think of it as a tragic limitation of hers rather than something that is actually threatening me, because I'm an adult now and I'm not really in a position for her decisions in that regard to impact my life. But I was still, at the point that my son reconciled with me, I was still regarding my mother like her choices could destabilize me. And I was still giving her a lot of power over the idea that she didn't have my best interests at heart. And I had to spend the couple of years that my son wasn't talking to me really thinking about, what does your parent owe you in terms of, correcting your, what do I owe my son, and what does my mother owe me, and what does my son owe me, and what do I owe my mother? And not in terms of, a ledger, but just in terms of, reconciliation. If you want this to be positive, I can't expect my mother to agree with my story of my childhood, because it wasn't the same for her. She can listen. But ultimately, she was deeply flawed and deeply limited. I was right at 40, and it's the exact age that my mom was when I came home and said I'm pregnant. So I'm like, all right, anytime my mom was parenting me, she was my age or younger. there's no reason to think that anything that I ever thought that she was going to give me isn't something that I can give myself. Like, if I'm not equipped to give myself that, I need to think about the reasons why. But, like, I have to figure out what I needed and give it to myself. My son can't reconcile with me if he's never seen me reconcile with my mother. By keeping this distance from my mom, I'm teaching him that the best way to keep yourself safe from someone who has hurt you is to cut off that relationship. But if I talk to my mom and I say, I'm not going to show up for you to treat me in this way or this way or this way. I am not going to affirm your victim narrative. I'm not going to do this. I'm not, like, if he sees me set boundaries with my mom that allow us to have a positive relationship, then he will observe that and he can understand how to set boundaries with me that will allow us to have a positive relationship. And if I observe the way that my mother doesn't meet me where I want her to meet me, instead of being angry with my mother, I can say, like, I've inherited this level of dysfunction. How can I correct it so that my son doesn't have to worry about how he can correct it? And it became so much less about, like, needing to remember everything that my mother had done to hurt me. And it became so much more about developing the medicine that would heal the relationship with my mother so that I could pass the recipe on so that he wouldn't have a broken relationship with his children. Like, I can save him this work. I can save him this uncertainty by doing an imperfect job and leaving myself open to it maybe not working, maybe not being effective. Like, maybe my mom gets another shitty boyfriend and I have to be exposed to all of those triggers of watching her get really swept up in somebody who's not worth it. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just something that I have to be open to, and I can't protect myself from that without denying him something really important. I thought, oh, I'm going to be 40 and I'm going to be done. But no, I'm 40 and I'm like, okay, like, he is going to inherit exactly this world with no advantages unless I think about how to give him some advantages. Intact relationships are like the least I can do. It turns out, like, if I hadn't reconciled with my mom, I wouldn't have been as privy to my grandmother's end of life. But my grandmother, who I idealized from forever because she's like perfect cook, very glamorous, loves kids, was always really fun. She was not that kind of mom, like, at all. Like she was straight up abusive to her sons, like, scary. Like, my perfect grandmother, like, made one of my uncles stand in the front yard in a dress because he peed his pants. And I'm like, that is my sweet Grammy. Like, what do you mean? What I got out of that is, like, you can really show up in different ways for your grandkids than you did for your kids. There is properly a chance to undo generational damage by showing up for your grandkids in a way that you were too poorly resourced or too under-therapized or too traumatized to show up for your kids in the first place. I can definitely see how I would have been better if I was starting now than I was starting at 17, obviously. It really made me feel like, oh, it's important to keep showing up, like, the whole time, forever. And I think that there's something, like, in America, we don't like to think that we have ancestors. We like to be like, no, I just sprang fully formed due to my own
like intuition and grit. I was born in the woods alone with a gun. You know, you have this like very individualistic sense of self. I feel actually like very resolved around the whole like multigenerational thing, and I don't know, like I feel very connected to a sense of lineage, even if the actual people in my lineage are incredibly questionable. Your family, like you can just show up, like you can be like on the wind for a decade, you know, drinking and riding the rails, and you can show up at Christmas and like, that's what family is. They're like, come on in. Like, you just have to deal with like whatever your family brings to the table. And I know so many people who are not able to do that, who like have had their parents like steal their identities, or you know, like serious abuse, or like they're just not able to extend themselves to their parents because their parents are so likely to like damage them properly. But I feel like any chance you can, like if you can give your kids the sense of like family permanence, it creates a kind of stability for them that that you really can't replace with anything else.
Something that Lily said in her story is that as a parent, it's important to keep showing up the whole time forever, even when it's difficult or deeply imperfect or misunderstood. Lily emailed me some additional thoughts after we recorded. She said that one unexpected thing that happened is that the estrangement from her son effectively ended some of her friendships, because they were over-identifying with her son in the situation and felt that she was, quote, disrespecting his wishes by trying to work toward reconciliation. The concepts of setting and respecting boundaries and actively working through issues do not have to be mutually exclusive. A parent-child estrangement is so deeply painful, and when we experience it firsthand on either side, it can be difficult not to project our own experience on others without leaving any room to understand the nuance of their situation. It's an understandable but ironically alienating response. In her email, Lily said, "Nobody actually wants to not have a mother. They only have mothers they can't trust." She was determined to be a mother that could be trusted. That's not disregarding a boundary, that's breaking down a wall. Substack is really where this project lives, and you'll find a companion piece about this episode and others, along with bonus clips and updates about the show and our guests. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. Just like each of us, this show grows gently and through connection, so please help us spread the word. Share an episode or two with your softest friends and your hardest enemies. Until next time.
You're so good, not you.